Okay guys, so to start off with, I am just creating this little base structure for the nose, which is really simple. I'm just creating nostrils and the sides of the nose using a really dark maroonish color, and I'm using this screenshot of the color palette that I use on Procreate because I don't know how to create a color palette on IbisPaint, or even if you can create a color palette over here. If yes, then let me know down in the comment section below. That'll be really helpful. So I'm basically just creating this really basic looking nose structure, and I'm not gonna draw the overall nose structure here because we are gonna be using colors to create the whole shape. So I'm gonna use this dark brown kind of color, not brown but a bit darker than the base color. So as you guys can see, the background is already a skin color that I used, so I didn't really paint that skin color as my base because I already had it on my background. But if you don't have it on your background and the background color is different, then I obviously would highly recommend do not skip the first step, which is to add the base skin color. So here I'm adding this color which is slightly darker than the base skin color, and what I'm basically doing is I'm just randomly, not really randomly, but I'm really roughly just adding this color and creating the whole shape for the nose. Now you can do this step while you are creating a rough sketch for the nose, but I like doing it this way because this way I am also adding shadows to the nose, and at the same time we are creating the whole structure for the nose. Now usually what I do is I actually use a color which is not too dark. As you guys can see, I do have that on my palette, which is on the second number in the first row. I used that first to create the basic structure, but now that I'm getting really good with it, I actually just skip that part because that is not really needed. So you can just skip that, or if you're just kind of practicing, you can just use a slightly darker color than the skin color than using a completely, a really dark color. I hope this is making sense. So yeah, also I'll be giving you guys link to this color palette, to the screenshot of this color palette, and I'm sorry if you guys hear some background noise. I cannot really help that. So once that is done, so basically what I did, I actually added this color really roughly, and then I increased the size of the brush and went over those roughly created shadows to blend those out. Now you can use a smudge brush to do that, but I try to avoid using smudge brush while I'm shading skin because it just smooths out everything, and I don't really like the whole outcome afterwards. So here I am actually just darkening up the nostrils a little bit more so that can guide us ahead in the process as to how dark we can go with the shadow color. I hope this is making sense. So that's what I'm doing right here. Also, as you guys must have noticed, I have different colors in my color palette, and some of them have really pink undertone, and that's because if you just use colors from one undertone, then that is just gonna make the whole skin look ashy. So you should always incorporate colors with some pink undertone as well, because that denotes blood flow. So that's that. So yeah, always incorporate colors from pink undertone as well. And here, as you guys can see, I'm just darkening up each and every outline that I had, and I also went ahead and used a smudge brush to smudge the sides of the nose as well. Yeah, just darken those up like this and smudge out any part that you think is looking too harsh. Now on the similar layer, before we move ahead with different colors, what I do is I just add more harsh looking shadows to the nose, or on the skin, or on the portrait if I'm painting a portrait. So I add more harsh looking shadows as well before I move ahead with maroonish color, so that this color can guide me further in the process while I'm using a really deep maroon color. And also the reason why I add harsh looking shadows is because whenever you're painting skin, there should be a good balance between harsh looking shadows and soft ones. So yeah, I do have a video on how to paint skin on IbisPaint if you want to check that out, but I never really explained how I actually shade colors together. So I actually build up colors layer by layer. So as you guys I'm actually doing this on just one layer, but you don't do that. I'd highly recommend creating separate layer for separate step or different steps. So I actually build colors in steps, and I only use smudge brush when I think the color looks messy and I won't be able to blend that with just the brush. So here I actually created a new layer just underneath that, and I am picking up this dark maroonish color. Now you can pick up that pink color that we have in the color palette to add that effect that if you have blood inside the skin. But I always use this maroonish color, and basically the technique is to be really gentle on the screen. Don't put much pressure while you're adding this color, because this color is already too dark and too deep. So you want to make sure you are actually using it really lightly. So I had to actually go back and forth a lot of times just to make sure that I'm adding this color nicely. And also another tip is to increase the size of the brush when you're adding such colors. Now this way, I don't know why, but this way the colors look more soft and they don't look harsh at all. So when you want to add harsh looking shadows, decrease the size of the brush. When you want to add soft looking shadows, increase the size of the brush. Also make sure to put less pressure onto the screen while you do so, because we don't want to mess everything up that we have created up until this point. So as you guys must see that I am also adding some really harsh looking lines here and there. Now when you do that, make sure you also blend those out. So to blend those, what I do is, I'm just gonna repeat that again. I decrease the size of the brush, I lay down the color really roughly, and then I increase the size of the brush, and then I go over that harsh looking color with larger size, but this time I make sure that I'm not really putting any pressure onto the screen, and this way it actually blends out pretty well, making sure it has some harshness to it, and also it is not looking crazy at all. I hope this is making sense. So another tip is to not worrying too much about the shadows, just be really rough and gentle at the same time, as I am right here. As you guys can see, it is looking so imperfect right now, but it will turn out a lot better than it is right here. So yeah, that is another tip that I usually do. And as you guys can see, I only use smudge brush when I think I've actually messed up, and only smudge brush can save me there. Only then I use my smudge brush. Other than that, I only use paintbrush, and I increase its size to blend the colors. And here I am adding this pink color around the nose, just to add a little bit of brush around the whole nose area. I love adding that whenever I am creating a portrait. Now once that is done, what you have to do is you have to create a new layer. Now this time you have to change the layer mode to multiply. Now here we are gonna add some more shadows, and these are gonna be a little bit deeper than we already added, and we do need to add these so that it doesn't look washed out at all. So I just use the color that I initially used to create the whole nose structure, and I'm not gonna add this color all over the nose. I'm just gonna add it here and there so that I have some deep color on the nose. I usually add it under the bridge of the nose. That's where I usually add it, and I also add it on the sides of the nose just to make the bridge of the nose stand out more. I hope that is making sense. Really lightly, but it is already looking so nice because we changed the layer mode to multiply, and it actually deepens the color we're using. So that's the reason why I use multiply layer mode. So after adding that, I went ahead again with the smudge brush, and I actually blended it out just a little bit. So in this case you can use the smudge brush because it was too deep. Now in the end, obviously this is my favorite part, which is highlighting. So I obviously create another layer for that, and that layer should be placed on the top of every layer that you have. And I use white color when I'm painting light skin tones, and I use skin color when I'm painting dark skin tones. So make sure you're not using white color for dark skin tone. So basically, again, here I'm again just using the airbrush, so taperized airbrush, something along those lines, just find it in the brush library. I found that brush to be really helpful in the process, and I used that brush only in the whole process. I didn't change my brush at all. So that's the brush I'm using here again for the highlight. So basically what you have to do is first just lay down a very basic rough layer for the highlight. So for that, what I do is I just increase the size of the brush, and I roughly add this white color on the bridge of the nose and on the tip of the nose, and then I decrease the size of the brush to add little white dots over that first layer of highlight, just to make sure it is standing out a bit more. Right now you cannot really see it, but in the end of this video you'll see how good the nose is looking. So that's how I do. So to lay down the first layer of the highlight, make sure you're putting less pressure. When you are adding little dots of the highlight, make sure to increase the pressure you are putting on to the screen. And that's it. That's how you create a cute looking nose, and that's how you blend different colors together. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys in my next video.